I liked at the end of it where he explained that his issue isn't with black excellence per se, because that would be a problem. Right? We all should strive to be excellent. Mm-hmm. The question is, what does excellence mean, and how, and in what lane do we direct it? So, if he says, "I want black people to achieve, but I want us to think collectively," I'm good with that. If somebody says, let's celebrate the best of us, that can be problematic if the best of us can only happen at the expense of other people. If there's a finite amount of money, it would be like if there were a finite amount of money here that all of us could make, and Imani made 90% of it, and then we all celebrated Imani being the richest person on the podcast. It'd be like, well, good, kind of, but like we're getting fucked in the process. Mm-hmm. Like that's the argument that I think he's making, and not to nerd out on it too much, but this was an argument that goes back to the early part of the 20th century. W.E.B. Du Bois wrote an essay called The Talented Tenth. Mm-hmm. And for a long time, he talked about this idea in the essay that the Negro race would be saved by its exceptional men, that the best of us, exceptional people, would save us. What he came to find out when he wrote 10 years later, The Talented Tenth Revisited, was it don't work. That 10th, they focus on themselves. They focus on making more for themselves. They focus on hoarding wealth instead of spreading it out. They focus on saying, we got here, why didn't you get here? And that's the danger of making excellence this thing that only a small slice of people can have.
So whenever people say black excellence, are we attributing it to being only talking about people with wealth? Like, is excellence only attached to wealth?
No, fame as well.
No. Only no.
Yeah.
Does it play a part? I'm sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
But for us, fame is included in that, like largely included in that. Right.
Whenever there's a lot of people that I know in my life that I consider to be a part of black excellence that have not the name, they don't have the bank account.
And fame is not included in that for me. I just wanted to
No. It's not included. If you understand it, it's not included. But for a lot of people, the optics of fame equals excellence.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Or at least it makes you eligible to be considered for excellence.
Yeah, because people know you are. Yeah.
I just feel like I know a lot of people in my life that I consider to be a black excellence who don't fall into that line. So I don't want them to be like not spoken for in these moments. But I don't have a problem with anything he said though. I think he was 100% on point.
I appreciate him saying it because, there was just too often when we started to celebrate people who get invited to certain parties. Even we couldn't get in the party. We were proud that they got in to this party or this brunch or this dinner or this award show or whatever. And it became like that became the standard of excellence, right? Or that became the place where you assess the excellence. And it's never collectively thinking. It's never like, okay, you built this many houses for us. You built this institution for us to learn. You created this many jobs. It became all about the individual celebration. I love Hov, and I don't usually critique Hov for all the reasons. I'm a Hovenger myself, right? But I never liked that line, what's better than 1 billionaire too? To me, better than 1 billionaire is 500 people with living wage jobs.
Living good, yeah.
Yeah, but if we think about it from an individual perspective, it's one way. And I get all the complexity of what he's saying, but my idea is I don't want to spend too much time celebrating the individual who excels above everybody. I'd rather think about how to collectively
I think it's celebrated so much
prosper.
because there's so very few, and if we can get a couple of more, it would probably inspire people under to be able to reach that same goal.
What did you say is better than 1 billionaire?
2.
No, what did Mark say?
That's what he said.
That's what Hov said.
500 living
wage jobs, or whatever the number is. If we said we want to create a bunch of people making $50,000, whatever a billion divided by $50,000 is, or $100,000, whatever number we choose. To me, that would be better than a.
I don't think so. It doesn't change industry.
That's where this conversation always gets a little tricky for me.
Yeah, I don't.
1 billionaire creates more than that many living wage jobs.
And this is where Vic Mensa gets. This is where it gets tricky for me, right? Because Vic would say, and I would agree with him, there's no way to get $1 billion without being tied up into industries that do a lot of harm to the most vulnerable among us. So you're right. You could create a lot of jobs, a lot of industries. You could do innovation with that $1 billion. You could do a lot of shit other than just create 1,000 jobs or 2,000 jobs. But you're also going to be invested in war. You're going to be invested in the military-industrial complex. You're going to be invested in prisons. You're going to be invested in things that do a lot of harm too. And there's no way to have $1 billion and not be tied up in some shit.
So is there a way to create this change without the money and power?
Well, I don't know if that's true either. I can't just let you say that.
Yeah, I was expecting you to say something back to that.
Yeah, I can't, because I got to think.
No, it's true. Like, if you're going to take Apple...
2v1.
No, if you're going to take Apple... Because you said you were about to think.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, you go.
Okay. But if you take Apple, for example, yes, it's like its technology has changed the world, but at what cost? Like, when you think about the materials that it takes to make the phones. It comes from like the Congo, like tin, tantalum, and I forget what the other material is. But I mean, like it's not even.
It's blood technology.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Now.
What's my man?
I was talking about like extreme wealth. Like we were talking about billionaires. We're talking about billionaires.
We're on billionaires.
Yeah.
What's his name?
I feel like
you can make your money off of that. That could be your primary industry, but your investments, unless you just make your $1 billion clean and keep it under the mattress, you're even banking and investment, you're tied to these industries. I'm just saying, nobody's hands are clean. Now, if we say capitalism is how we're going to live, then it's unavoidable.
Yes. That's what I believe,
and if we're beginning from a place of we're going to live in capitalism, and I'd rather have Oprah have that $1 billion than Elon Musk. I'm with y'all. But what Vic would say is, and what a lot of us are at least wrestling with, is the idea that maybe we have to tear this whole thing down and build a whole different way of doing this, so that nobody has $1 billion.
More of a socialist, communist type of thinking. I don't agree with that. I mean, but I understand the concept, and it would kind of put everybody at an even playing field.
Right.
I'm not mad at that or people who believe in that, and people.
Well, I don't believe in communism or socialism, so I don't.
But we're in a capitalist system.
Right.
I don't think that this is what needs to happen in order for us to be able to point out or identify black excellence in a capitalist system. Like, I disagree with him about there's no such thing as black excellence because as a group it's not excellent. I could not disagree more. Like, when people say black excellence, I very rarely see them looking at a group and saying that. And to whoever's point that was about it's not necessarily based on money, I see people that just are not famous, day-to-day lives being dads, preaching a good word, having good character, being black excellence, and just carrying that around. And that's a thing because we had very few examples of black excellence through the proper fucking channels that we see shit.
I agree. We don't though. We just don't speak about those people.
No, we don't see it. They whitewash everything. They're taking away our history. They're taking away the shit in the school books. They're taking away your blackness. We're in a place where they're taking all that away. Yes. So when you see a LeBron, who more so than him being a billionaire, more so than him being married and doing it the right way, his character has shined over the course of 25 years. When you see a Denzel, he's been a great actor, but every time they put a mic in front of him, he's teaching. Like Neil deGrasse. Like, it's examples of black excellence to where who cares what the group is doing? I'm happy to see black people that I identify as excellent.
Here's the problem, and I don't disagree with that. And if the narrative about black excellence was just reminding the world that black people are extraordinary, and here's some examples of it.
And the world knows because we built it.
Right, but they like to pretend they don't know. Right,
okay.
I'm with you on that, 1,000%. The problem is, in a capitalist society, the people who get most exploited are always told that their exploitation is not because of the system, but because of their choices. And so a lot of times black excellence gets used as a kind of tool to make people think that the reason they're not succeeding is because they didn't work as hard as Denzel, or because they didn't train as much as LeBron, or
and
because
that's not the case.
And that's the thing. So I'm not against black excellence in the abstract, and I don't think Vic would say that either. I think it's more, how is it used as a tool against us sometimes, and not just by white people, and not just by the system, but sometimes even black folk
against ourselves.
Yeah, we start to think, look, man, if you just worked a little bit harder, you'd be fine. Or, if you could be as excellent as... And so for me, it's just, how do we use black excellence? You know what I mean? And what's the end game? That for me is always, what's the end game of this? Will it get us free or not? And if it does, I'm with anything that'll help us get free. And I'm worried that sometimes the black excellence talk ain't moving us in that direction.
What's free?
You took the...
For me, it's I mean, that's
I know, yeah.
But at the very least, taking the oppressive systems and the pressure of those oppressive systems off of us. Like, black people are just exponentially more likely to go to prison for doing the same shit as white people, right?
Sounds like you're saying just wiping those systems totally clean.
At least taking some of the pressure off. Again, I'm not asking for perfection, especially if we live in a capitalist society, right? I'm saying, no, it shouldn't. If I'm walking down the street with crack and you walking down the street with powder cocaine, I shouldn't go to prison for longer, right? Taking some of the pressure off of that. But if the discourse is just be excellent and don't sell crack, but never look at the reason why I'm selling crack.
Right.
Then we get somewhere else. And I'm saying let's have both conversations. You know what I mean? Especially when some of the billionaires got it from selling. They got the stuff from selling crack.
Right.
So I'm just saying let's keep all that in perspective. And sometimes the Black excellence talk oversimplifies the keys to success. And sometimes it, frankly, understates how hard those people and how extraordinary those people had to be to get there.
Just to get to that point.
Yeah. That's all.